Hi, and welcome to this IMPETUS interview, a series of conversations where we take a deep dive into the projects highlighted by the EU Prize for Citizen Science. This time around, we're joined by Bridget and Rainer Braun from the Parkli Project, who are using citizen science and participatory science to help communities determine localized effects of climate change in South Germany. Parkli were one of the recipients of an honourable mention at this year's EU Prize for Citizen Science, and are working in South Germany. So thank you very much for joining us today, both of you.
Thank you for inviting us.
Hello.
So just as a quick introduction, could you give an overview of the inception of the Parkli Project and your primary goals that you're hoping to achieve?
Parkli is a citizen science project funded by the Baden-Württemberg Foundation in a program, Innovation for Adaptation to Climate Change. We are two partners in a project, which is Reutlingen University, and OS4S, means Open Science for Open Societies. Our focus area is the south of Germany. Our objective is to develop tools for climate adaptation, and we are doing this by collecting environmental data via open source citizen science apps like iNaturalist, Green Space Hack, or Iron Water Australia. And where we don't have the possibility to use apps, we develop or use existing sensors to provide a consistent monitoring of the space itself. Researchers are in constant exchange with citizens, and our goal is really to get citizens at all stages of the research project engaged. So we did not look for one certain area, but we kind of set up the project to have the possibility to get input from the citizens all over the stages. So.
No, that's really interesting. And I like the idea of using these community groups to help you co-develop and to work with you to determine kind of the localized effects of climate change. We all see in the news a little about like the major effects of these like the effects of climate change and that sort of thing. But yeah, getting the communities involved and determining the effects that they're having at a localized level is such an interesting approach as well. Could you describe a little bit how you've managed to get these communities involved and the roles that they play within your project?
We have defined in the beginning two roles. One is a climate detective, and one is the citizen advisory board. The climate detectives, they can contribute with 5 to 10 minutes a week. They make observations in nature and in the city by using the apps. It's easy, playful, so it's not really, it shouldn't look like work, additional work, but it should still contribute very deeply to developing our tools. They record these observations through the apps and enable us to build a database for early warning systems based on their observations. The climate detectives, they can also be sensor sponsorships. So if they have a possibility to get to a lake, they can take care that our sensors are still running and it's still fine there. The same point is they can also make suggestions for improvement. So if they see a workflow is not really working for them, if they need additional things, they can give us feedback, what kind of things from our side need to be improved to keep them really on track and keep them interested in the project and also in participating to it. They can also give feedback to technologies if they kind of have the understanding for it. But this is mainly really the smallest role we set up when we thought it's made for a wide range. So it's not really defined. You don't need to have a lot of background knowledge. You can be just part of it because you're interested in the topic itself. And the second role, the advisory board, it's more, we said they should have around 1 hour a week, because it's a bit more intense also regarding what kind of knowledge they might need beforehand, or what kind of things they should research. They help us to identify relevant problems and questions, and further develop the Parkli content. So we really benefit there also from what kind of backgrounds they have. They also address which topics and of society and citizens are of interest of Parkli. So we didn't define everything just from the research project. We gave them the opportunity as a citizen to kind of define the whole project and also the direction of the project. The interesting part here is really that we give them the opportunity to kind of put as much background knowledge as possible into their role, to find and identify themselves with Parkli. Because that's what I realized, if they don't find identification for themselves, it's difficult also to stay on it, to really contribute, not only once, because both roles are actually meant for constant contribution. So it's not a one time, now come in, provide data or provide feedback and then go. It's really this constant part.
And I think it's so important for the recognition and for the idea that these community members, these people that are supporting your project, feel that they have a role, and that the variety of different ways that these people can integrate themselves into the project is really, yeah, it's fantastic, because you are providing different avenues into the project, no matter people's availability or their background knowledge or their interest or their time commitment, I suppose. So having these multiple levels that have different time constraints, have different levels of commitment, it just allows much more people from the community to be involved in any way that they can. You talk a little bit about developing new tools and methods for creating these new sensors. So part of that is creation of the toolkit on the Parkli website, but also included in that is the development of new apps, or working with current apps to better align with what you wanted to measure. I just wanted to ask if you could talk about the development of these tools, I suppose.
First, I think we need to make a difference between the tools and the platform itself. And when we started, or what's sometimes a bit challenging or frustrating, I say, in research projects, you start and you see you have the best idea and best tools, and after the project it's not used anymore because there is no funding. No, and this is a general, let's say, challenge. And as I mentioned before, the clear topics we did not define. It was during the first co-creation process, and then it was clear that it is water, biodiversity, soil, and urban spaces. Because these are in the outcome of this workshop was then, these are the 4 main interesting areas. So then we started somehow to make an overview, to create an overview, what kind of projects already existing. And I would recommend to everyone who starts, do this first and see what is already available. And we said, we are not going to develop anything new if it's already existing in the community. If there is already a community behind, for us, it's better to support them. Also in future, if we talk about how it can be in future, to say support them financially. It's, I think, a better way than creating the next app, which actually I don't have the competencies for this. I also need to learn it, but this was the starting point. So then we had an overview of, I think, in total, more than 40 different apps working in these areas. We made a clear list on, do they have licensing model behind the data use? Because we are using the data, we are using their apps, and we are using the data. Is there a clear licensing model behind? If there is no clear licensing model behind, or we cannot use this data because it's a closed project, then it was, okay, out of our scope. And in the end, we had, for this app side, iNaturalist, iOnWater, and GreenSpaceHack, which we can use for our purpose. For this apps, we develop guidelines translated into German, because most of our citizen scientists and people we are working with are speaking German, and then tried explain them and introduced how to use it. So this is the one part of the toolbox. You can say you have these apps, and with the apps, you can design your use case. Like, I'm interested into biodiversity monitoring in a local space, and if there are some invasive species. So this is, for example, one question, one research question you have. And then we say, here, please use iNaturalist for the monitoring. But then if you go to their sites, it's a lot of data analysis. You need to understand IT systems. And then we said, no, we need a more easy platform. That's where we started to say the toolbox, it's the apps, but the platform, we developed an own interface, and you can choose, do you want to analyze the biodiversity data, the cities data, urban spaces, or what kind of data you want to analyze. So, and people can play around with their data sets.
So I suppose it's a case of not wanting to reinvent the wheel. It's, if there's already a tool out there that is useful and is fit for purpose, then integrate that into the project rather than creating something wholesale.
Definitely. And if you look at the costs, if you say, I want to have my own app for this, I mean, 40, 50,000 euros, I would say, no problem to spend, and then more and more and more. So, and not reinventing the wheel.
And I suppose having all these tools available and aiming to be used like open source, like resources, means that these tools and resources and your guidance can be used with other projects, I suppose, and can be passed on for other initiatives that are trying to do something similar in their region.
I think working with these external apps, it's also showing that we also contribute to other communities, and it opens up by kind of having the exchange and supporting each other. We translated even the GreenSpaceHack into other languages, so the survey could be made in other languages, which is then in their own app. So I think, since they're all community-based applications, it's just nice to support each other.
And you mentioned that you were, for the Parkli project, you were studying biodiversity, water, soil, and urban spaces, which is a wide, like, it's a broad umbrella for any project to be taking on, like data collection in all these areas. I'm just wondering, yeah, how did you approach like with your citizen scientists, were they interested in some regions and not other areas of study? And yeah, how did you kind of engage with the communities to get involved in these multiple areas, I suppose?
In the beginning, it was really a challenge for them to understand. First of all, of course, we generated together those 4 topics, and then still showing them, because new people came in. So those got already presented, all the 4 topics. By then we analyzed one app behind after the other, what could be used. And of course, it depends where citizen science are. So if someone is really just more outdoor person and he really loves nature, so there was this iNaturalist, which was really perfect for him or her, or someone who was near water, the Ion Water Australia. It was still challenging to get the soil into the project, because with the apps you have only certain opportunities to really track something and monitor something, and we needed more the consistency, like for water, to monitor water itself. So that's why we developed a buoy. And still, it was from the outside, from the research, they always got new input. In the end, we made a video with some citizen scientists, and they also admitted it was a challenge to understand all the different connections and also to understand how they are coming together. But when they saw on the Parkli platform that they can really access data from their region, which they contributed to, about the biodiversity, about how green spaces are evaluated in a survey they contributed. So it was clear that all these things are connected with each other. It's if it's too hot in a city, there is less biodiversity. If it's very hot, the water itself changes. So the interconnectivity of these topics was then clear when they had also results to see it. So this was also our learning. It's difficult to get them understand things if they are complex as long as you don't have results to show them the connections of these complex things. Yeah, but it worked.
And it was just very ambitious for a single project to try and coordinate teams of citizen scientists to integrate communities and different researchers in all these areas to come together and collect all these data types to communicate the issues and the interconnectiveness of it all. So it's, yeah, just very impressed with how, like, the level of scope of your project.
Yeah, to add to this, I personally don't see it only as a project. It was a start for us to work on these topics, and we were really happy with the Baden-Württemberg Foundation that they said, so, wow, ambitious, but let's do it, let's start, because we think it is important. I mean, nowadays, many people talk about, yeah, the systems are connected to each other, and we need to understand the complexity. We need to understand, yeah, not only on a high global level. I mean, if we say, okay, CO2, it's a gas, and if Germany CO2 emissions increase, or if Germany doesn't decrease it, it has an impact in the US. I think this kind of things everyone nowadays already know. I hope, at least. So, but what is happening really locally, and to say, if I plant the wrong trees, I mean, planting trees is a decision for the next 20, 30, 50 years. it has an impact on the biodiversity. It has an impact on this. Yeah, that was the motivation, or and also it's one project. We are really aware of this, so many topics, but we think it is important to at least take some perspectives of these areas.
And I think it's so important for people to understand the holistic impacts of climate change. We all see in the news about, rising sea levels and that sort of thing. But the personal impact of how your local green spaces or your local environment is changing due to the effects of climate change and the knock-on impacts of that is just so important. And it's such an interesting way of getting more communities involved and having them feel that their actions are having an effect on the areas that they live, rather than something so massive that it's almost too hard to comprehend a little bit.
And this also helps people, I would say, and before you ask what are they interested in, on what kind of level, and one good example is with the schools. We are working with schools, and regularly we are going in classes explaining what we are doing in Parkli. And for the teachers, it's a good example to say, wow, you're working on these high-level topics, but actually I have here in front of my school a small lake, or I have in front of my school a forest, and we can develop our own projects and using your methods. And this brings all these topics closer to the students, and closer also to, they can integrate it in their lessons. So it's very important to have this identification. So people identify with places.
And I think it's so interesting that you're doing work with schools and integrating this sort of knowledge at a younger age and getting these young people involved with the work that you're doing. It kind of follows up to my next question about public engagement as a whole. How did you approach getting these communities involved with the project? And what sort of, I know that you did some workshops as part of the citizen board or the advice board. But was there any other outreach that you were doing to try and share what you were doing, get people involved, and increase general understanding of the importance of your work?
Yeah, I mean, the co-design I already described, and it was not only once we did it, it was in regular phases. But then we also had this element of co-production. I mean, this is the circle. We had co-design, co-production, co-evaluation. And sometimes there are different communities. In this in the co-design, we defined the problem or defined the problems, the topics, and then in the co-production, it came, so okay, what kind of technologies are we using? How can we implement this? I mean, here it's the question, what kind of software do we need? Really simple question, and this involves definitely other stakeholders and other groups. And just one example, I didn't mention it before. We built this buoy where we can measure water temperature, conductivity, and pH value. And actually, this was not an idea from me. It came during this discussion, and one in our team said, so, what, they want to have time series data? We can build it. And I was like, so, are you sure? And so, yeah, we can build it. So, and then we addressed or asked also other communities like or people from other communities like the I mean, this is now really technical, and discussed with them. How did you implement it? What kind of sensors? And then we built our own sensor PCB and to do the monitoring. So this is a completely different skill set we need. Then we had a PCB board with some blinking LEDs, and we feeded it back to our advisory board, citizen advisory board. Does anyone know or has experience in developing products like where can I find the buoy itself? I mean, we had only batteries and sensors. How can we place it in a lake? So, and this was a constantly identifying, okay, who do we need now? To whom do we need to talk? And definitely, okay, there is the guidance from the project team. I mean, we are in total 7 people working on Parkli. Yeah, this is just one example. And I would say several talks or many talks, I don't know what happened in other areas, because there are also the people also have space and freedom to develop their own ideas.
And again, that feeds back into the idea that you talked about before about the co-design, the co-production, and the idea of getting multiple people with different skills involved with the project at a level that they can contribute to, I suppose. What have been some of the most significant results or achievements that the Parkli project has produced throughout the lifetime of the project? And yeah, it'd be great to hear some examples.
One of our greatest achievements, it was really the European Union Citizen Science Prize from the IMPETUS project, where we really loved Ars Electronica, and we are very happy to be part of it. Another one, we were as a small team. We're not a European research project. We have just 2 institutions, and compared to other citizen science projects, we are not a big one. We were very happy to be part of open access publication from the European Union, which is about fostering knowledge valorization through citizen science engagement, where we also could contribute with our learnings, our challenges, our kind of experiences now, how to work in a citizen science project, and also how to engage as much citizens as possible. With something we are also happy about is we have the invitation of being part of the Didacta 2025. Didacta is a fair addressing education, and education in all kind of areas, and it had last year more than 60,000 visitors. So we, as a small research project, part of it, and because we are with Parkli, we have teaching classes on a Move platform, which is a platform which provides materials for teacher. And this is also a collaboration with a ZSL, Center of School Quality and Teaching Training in Baden-Württemberg. So we could collaborate with really interesting partner where we can scale so far our knowledge and our things we would like to contribute. And yeah, I think these are one of our greatest achievements and impacts. And of course, on the plan, our 100 buoy program. I don't want to forget it. I need to mention it. It's not there yet. Ask us next time.
The 100 buoy project, is this?
Okay, I have to explain now, because she meant I did not know that you want to mention it, but actually in my experience in this kind of projects, or in general, if you do some projects, you always need to have a vision what you want to achieve. So, and when we made our first buoys, and actually I'm now driving every weekend to a different lake. It's also a perfect activity for weekends. So I can recommend to people who don't find motivation, take a buoy, do it. So, and I then said, after the first 5 buoys, we want to have 100 buoys and 100 lakes here in Baden-Württemberg to do a bigger study. I mean, a study on how the temperature is in the different lakes. And if your deep lakes have a different behavior than lakes which have only 1.5 or 2 meters. Same for so, and this will be a very, very interesting study in my opinion. So to have this, yeah, this is our the 100 buoy program.
So that kind of leads quite nicely to my next question, I suppose, is the future for the Parkli project, I suppose. It sounds like you're hoping to expand and increase the areas that you're looking at. But is there any other kind of, what else is in the future for the Parkli project?
Definitely what we need to do next is maybe if you go on our website or on the Parkli website, we talk a lot about open data and platform, but actually it is not published in that quality that it should be. So the next step is really to make it now public. We had this research phase, we had this development phase, and now we have this opening phase. We are working with the team on describing how to build your own things, for what can you use this software, also publishing it as open source. I mean, this is several Python scripts will be there, how to do it right, but this all takes time. Yeah, hopefully until the end of the year, I'm ready, or we are ready to make it public. So this is the first. Then next is we need to identify clearly what is the, and I think this all of the projects are, everyone needs to define it. What is the business case for this kind of projects? Because usually if you tell people, yeah, it's this and this, and they say the sensors are super, you can, yeah, companies can take it and make the business, and they say, yeah, but it's open source. I mean, there is some licensing model behind. And then they say, oh, with open source, you can't do anything. So clearly, we need to find a way how to support the development of future. Now it's not that costly, so OS4S can take the costs, and for the next 5 to 6 years, it's done. I mean, we can do it, but it always depends. If things are scaling, then maybe asking the community, do they have better ideas than we have now? And last is, I think what we developed here, it's very interesting for the next research project. I mean, there is a good basis we built.
I just wanted to take this opportunity to ask if there's anything we'd miss, or if there's anything that you'd like to share with the Impetus community.
Happy to see you in Linz.
Perfect. I just want to say it's been a very interesting conversation, and thank you very much for your time.
we also thank you for inviting us.
Thank you.
It's been great having a chat with you, and yeah, we'll see you in Linz. So thank you again, and bye for now.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.